Hey! Focus, my king!
You see the king on the castle over there? He called your castle, "Keep so weak, even servants laugh when they pass it."
It's truly the most devastating insult of the 13th century. Right after your moat is just a glorified puddle. Naturally, in classic medieval logic, we resolved this with suffering for everyone.
Sieging a castle isn't a fun afternoon activity where you just shout, "Go!" No. Sieging is chess with dysentery. It's a stupid game by Ubisoft. It's horrible.
Pardon my speech, my lord. How does a king with 1,000 men take a fortress defended by 1,000 more? Epically, you don't. The odds are basically infinitely stacked against your favor.
Even the most addicted gamblers won't hit on these odds. Luckily, the Geneva Convention has yet to be hosted. So we got plenty of options to make life for those behind these cold stone walls a literal hell.
As a ruler of great wisdom and taste, you obviously know how to siege a castle. But just to jog your memory, allow me to present a few historically certified methods to expand your real estate portfolio.
Historically Facts, Part 10. The human body can last around 3 weeks without food.
If you just block their supplies, they will surrender within a month, right? Wrong.
You'll be amazed how much grain, meat, salted fish, and weird medieval pickled stuff they've crammed into those walls. Most castles have as much food stacked up that they could survive up to 30 weeks of siege, easily.
This is annoying because every week you have to wait for them to starve, and you also gotta keep your army well fed and entertained yourself. Sieging a castle and then choosing to starve them out is essentially a game of bluff. Who can stay longer?
Good luck with that, by the way. Since your army is made out of mostly farmers, most of them within a week will urge to go back home to their crops. Especially if the siege takes months, which is common, it basically means the farmers will lose their entire crop produce.
At that point, your frustrated soldiers will start deserting left and right. And the moment your army looks weak, the castle doors will slam open, and the enemy will strike you at your most vulnerable.
It's no surprise that the siege of Kenilworth in 1266 went so wrong. The royal army tried starving out the rebels for 6 entire months. And did they surrender? Nope.
The defenders built fish ponds, had their own mills, and were basically vibing. While King Henry III's army was busy catching dysentery in the moat.
Eventually, the attackers had to give up because, plot twist, they were the ones starving. Incredible strategy, truly. Starving yourself outside someone else's house.
Worst yet, all the farmers hate you now because A, they died, and B, even worse, their crops are gone.
So their family will die of starvation next. Oh well. Just another Tuesday in the Middle Ages.
But fret not, my king. When starvation fails, we turn to humanity's second favorite method.
Run at enemy and hit it till it moves no more. This is the classic option.
The people back home in the tavern already have money on how many of your soldiers are going to get kebabbed on a pike. Storming a castle is the equivalent of telling your army, "Hey, go fight a bear in a phone booth."
And, by the way, the bear has formidable defenses, including heated liquids, projectile launchers, and large fall.
But phone booths didn't exist yet. Anyway, storming sounds heroic.
Flags waving, ladders slamming onto stone, horns blaring. but in reality, it's one of the fastest ways to mulch your army.
First problem: walls. Big, fat medieval walls, designed to survive literal centuries of war.
You can't exactly run up to them and politely knock. Second problem: high ground. Archers will turn your men into pincushions before they even get close.
And third problem: morale. Nothing drains morale like watching your friend try to climb a ladder, only to get yeeted off by a boulder the size of his hopes and dreams.
So, what do we do to make this suck slightly less? Well, we start with siege ladders.
Simple planks with hooks on top. Effective, unless your men are too slow or the defenders are too ready.
Then you have siege towers. Giant, mobile buildings, rolled on wheels towards the walls. Sounds cool, right? Until it gets stuck in a ditch. And the enemy sets it on fire with flaming arrows, and the doors jammed. What a beautiful, very expensive, flammable coffin.
Alternatively, you can go for battering rams. Nothing says, we are not overcompensating like putting 20 sweaty, beefy guys under a wooden turtle shell.
Swinging a log at a steel-reinforced gate while arrows rain down on it. If they get lucky, they will break through. And if they don't, well, at least they died knowing their king really, really wanted that door open.
Historically, storming had about a 30% success rate, because while the defenders are comfortable, dry, and motivated,
Your boys are slipping in blood, mud, and existential dread.
But sometimes you don't want to wait or waste men. You just want the walls gone. So, let's talk about bringing them down. Siege engines. Time to bring out the big toys. These aren't your average battering sticks. These are the power tools of medieval home demolition.
Trebuchets, you know, and ballistae. Each one proved that if humanity can't solve a problem, we will launch something heavy at it until it goes away.
First up, the trebuchet. The undisputed champion, the playground bully of siege warfare. Powered by pure gravity and medieval spite, it flings 90-kilogram boulders over 300 meters like it's skipping stones. Rocks? Sure. Deceased corpses? Absolutely. A barrel of insults tied to a goat? If you can fit it in the sling, go for it. Seriously, in you go, guys. Best of luck. Best of luck.
Dude, not my sponsor segment. Psych, gotta pay the bills. I got another one for you. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, and it's available for free on PC, consoles, and mobile. Command over 2,500 tanks, aircraft, helicopters, and warships from 10 major nations. Spanning from the 1920s biplanes and armored cars to modern fighter jets and main battle tanks. There's a community of over 70 million players, proving that War Thunder is the perfect game for military history enthusiasts. Click the link in the description to claim a massive bonus pack, available for new and returning players that haven't played for at least 6 months for PC and consoles. The pack includes multiple premium vehicles, an exclusive vehicle decorator, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of premium account.
Now, my lord, before you say, but what about the catapult? Andaman.
First of all, secondly, nobody was actually using what Hollywood calls a catapult.
The word itself is ancient Greek, and sure, there were early torsion-based engines with that name.
But by the time castles were popular, those things were long gone. Too weak, too short-ranged.
Too embarrassing to show up with. Walking up to a 40-foot-high wall with a tiny tension-powered arm flinger. It's like trying to knock down a brick house by angrily tossing teacups.
The trebuchet replaced it for a good couple reasons. Better range, better payload, better chaos, better memes.
And then there's the ballista. Not so much a siege weapon as a statement of intent. The ballista didn't knock down your walls. It didn't fling rotten cows. It didn't do theatrics.
What it did was point, silently, with a giant wooden finger that launched 6-foot iron bolts at whatever it was mad at that day.
The ballista wasn't for stone. It was for people, generals, messengers, that one unlucky archer who thought he was safe behind the battlement.
It was the assassin of siege engines. While trebuchets were lobbing chaos into courtyards, the ballista was aiming.
One shot, one terrified soul yeeted into the afterlife, like a poorly written side character.
You didn't need 10 of them, you just needed one. Visible on the horizon.
Silent, loaded, waiting. It didn't need to fire to cause fear. It just needed to exist. Most of the time, siege engines were psychological weapons. A big trebuchet wasn't just a weapon, it was a message.
I am willing to spend 3 weeks building this thing just to ruin your week. Of course, that is if the defenders let you build it in peace, which they won't. They'll sally out at night. They will sabotage. And worst of all, they will mock you. So maybe it's time for a sneakier approach. Undermining.
Yes, I'm talking about digging tunnels under castle walls. Because what better way to deal with a giant stone structure than crawling under them like medieval termites? The goal is simple. Dig under the wall, prop it up with wooden beams, then set those beams on fire. If everything goes well, the fire weakens the support, and the tunnel collapses. And crash, there goes the wall.
Sounds clever, right? And it worked, sometimes. Like during the siege of Rochester in 1215.
The wall tower collapsed. Brilliant stuff.
But this method also wasn't flawless. Tunnels took weeks to dig. They were often discovered and countermined. And even if they weren't, collapsing a wall segment doesn't guarantee victory.
If everything goes well, the fire weakens the support, and the tunnel collapses. And crash, there goes the wall.
Medieval architects were petty like that. At this point, my king, you might be thinking, isn't there an easier way?
Yes, be terrible. Let's talk about biological warfare.
Castles were full of people. People with immune systems, or lack thereof. So when things got desperate, or when you were just feeling creative, you threw in disease.
I am willing to spend 3 weeks building this thing just to ruin your week.
Contaminate their water supply. Break their morale. You don't need a sword if dysentery kills them first.
Destroys. This tactic was used in sieges from the ancient world to the Renaissance. In 1346, the Mongols catapulted days later, the defenders began dying. Some historians even suggest that this outbreak helped spark the spread of the Black Death in Europe.
So yes, medieval siege warfare might have accidentally caused the apocalypse. Whoops.
But let's say you're not into all of that. You still want to be a good king. You want to win clean, honorably, with a bit of finesse.
In that case, allow me to introduce you to espionage. That's right. Spies, bribery, betrayal.
Sometimes the best way to take a castle isn't over the walls, it's through the people inside.
Maybe a servant opens the gate. Maybe a guard is paid to forget to lock something. Or maybe someone just really, really hates their lord and hands you the keys.
If you have a siege plan, A day before you arrive with your army, have a small group of mercenaries act as merchants in the city.
And when the time comes, cause a small rebellion and open the gate from within.